A humble thought on first impressions. Did you know it only takes 7 seconds on average to form a first impression about someone? The first 7 seconds of your meeting will determine what someone thinks of you, depending on your appearance, body language, tone, expression, and much more. It's quite frightening, isn't it? What if you meet the person who could have been the love of your life, while out on an errand in your pajamas, hair unkempt and unwashed? What if you meet your future employer in the elevator before your interview, and you're caught hurriedly trying to smooth out the wrinkles in your shirt? Sometimes, people's first impressions of us are formed even before they get to meet us. They formulate an image of who we are depending on what others say about us, our reputation, and our records of what we have done in the past. For example, a resume in a workplace setting. But first impressions can be wrong. Imagine if your neighbor's first impression of you was you throwing away garbage in someone else's garbage can. Wouldn't they think you are rude and a bad neighbor? Wouldn't they wonder what you are hiding in someone else's garbage can? Would they ever give you the chance to come over and explain that you are actually helping an elderly neighbor clean up her house? Most likely not. For the rest of your stay in the neighborhood, you'll be thought of as the rude, trespassing neighbor, and it would take a lot of effort on your part to help change their mind. First impressions are hard to fight against, even if they're wrong. Once people have their minds set about who they think we are, it changes their entire demeanor and attitude towards us, and it becomes set within them. It takes a lot of time and effort to show a different side of us and prove that we are not who they think we are. We know that first impressions aren't everything and that our judgment can be wrong, yet we still trust in our opinions and judgment. Have you ever been wrong about a first impression? Has someone ever had a wrong first impression about you? If yes, do you know how frustrating it can be when people refuse to listen to the truth and hold on stubbornly to their own thoughts and opinions only as the true standard of judgment? At the first coming, the standard of judgment was Jesus Christ, the one sent by God, and whether or not one believed in his words. The chosen people, however, refused the standard and carried out a life of faith according to their own thoughts, traditions, and teachings. They saw Jesus and had their own impressions and opinions about him, that he was a poor carpenter's son, that he was too young, that he was demon-possessed, and that he wasn't the Messiah they imagined. With this in their hearts, they had no room to listen to the words of truth or see the reality that was before them. Their opinions weren't formed out of truth, reality, facts, or even the words of the Old Testament they memorized and preached. It was merely out of their own thinking and the slanderous words that spread in their community. There were false testimonies about Christ that were considered as more valid than what he actually did in front of true witnesses. But there were the small few who were willing to listen and reason with the scriptures about who Christ was. Later, when the disciples were the ones to spread the gospel, there were those who wanted to listen and judge for themselves versus those who had already made up their minds that the disciples were troublemakers and ringleaders of sects. Today, we too form our own opinions and impressions and judge one another. People cast their own judgments about the people of Shincheonji based on their first impressions or what they've heard and read. But as we continue the work of spreading the truth and being the light to the world, will people be able to break free from their self-created image of Shincheonji and see us for who we truly are? I truly hope so, for Shincheonji is far greater and more beautiful than the Shincheonji that lives in people's misguided thoughts. I hope that soon many will be able to put down their impressions of us and exchange it with the reality of who we are. This is how one should regard us, as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful. But with me it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or by any human court. In fact, I do not even judge myself. For I am not aware of anything against myself, but I am not thereby acquitted. It is the Lord who judges me. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 1 to 4.